Hello, once again, welcome.
Hello.
Here we are in this conversation with Arti
Hi.
Kurana on collab, through
Yes, it's a great
collab.
collab.
And today we're going to speak about fear. How do we deal with our fears? What kind of fears do we have? On how we experience in our lives and how we deal with it.
I think when we talk about fear, what comes to the mind? What do you think is fear?
Well, fear is can be two things. Fear can be emotion,
Mm-hmm.
or fear can be a feeling.
Okay.
Okay, when it is an emotion, it is a reaction that my body
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
presents through something that comes to me, and I don't know how to deal. I don't know how to respond,
Okay.
and it in a way blocks me to give an immediate response.
Okay.
That can comes from instinct,
Mm-hmm.
that response, fear about my security. When I face danger, we have a natural instinct of dealing with fear.
Okay. So, as a life coach, I think that's what fear means to you. But as a professional, fear to me is being in that constant flight or fight mode because you are in a competing world. It is constantly driven by pressures, stress, deadlines. You juggle between life and professional life, you juggle between responsibilities, and you're constantly kept on the roll. And also, sometimes when there is a calm or a peace, you ask yourself, is the world working? Is everything okay? Because you're constantly used to being in that pressure, in that on the go mode all the time. So fear is that feeling of, you know not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing the result, and not being sure. So if I were to put it in plain and simple words, sometimes even self-doubt can lead to fear.
Yes, I agree with that. So I was speaking about fear. There are two kinds of fear,
Mm-hmm.
and now I am speaking as a coach. Natural fear that protect us,
Mm-hmm.
our existence, our security, our safety.
Mm-hmm.
If you are near fire, immediately you react to protect you. If you
Absolutely.
are walking to a cliff, you don't go to the edge of
Yes,
the cliff.
that's the
Okay,
fear.
that's
Yeah.
that's one kind of fear, the one which is natural,
Okay.
that
Yeah, which is
protect
an
us.
instinct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then there is another fear, another kind of fear, a fear that can block us in our action,
Mm-hmm.
the one that imprison us because we. This is very interesting about fear. Fear has got to do with the future.
Yes. In fact, sometimes when you approach somebody, the person may not be that difficult to deal with as much as the fear that you have built and picture that you've created in your mind, which makes it so difficult. Sometimes situations that we face are really not that challenging enough for us to deal with compared to the picture that we have made in our mind. So, to a large extent, I feel fear is also a mindset
Absolutely,
that we create, a
absolutely.
story that we tell ourselves.
Hmm.
And, it's, as they say, the picture is much larger than the reality because what we built in our mind is much larger than what really is. And when you actually face it, you realize that you've progressed and you've moved one step closer to the future.
Hmm.
You're one step more certain than the uncertainty that you were carrying,
Hmm.
and you're one step more progressive in and stronger than you thought in your weaknesses.
Yes,
So
yes,
that to me is.
yes, yes. You speak about something very, very important about fear, which is our set of mind and how we see reality.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the way we see reality create that set of mind. How we gonna act or react upon it? Acting one way or another, acting or reacting, is got to do with choices. How to do the right choices. And fear is got to do also with choices.
I
Don't
think-
you consider that?
I definitely consider that because choices are not clear. I think it has more to do with also clarity. Clarity doesn't come when you're in a fearful state. The fog, the picture, the darkness is so big that you forget actually darkness is not the reality. The reality is light. Darkness is nothing but absence of light.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, it's power, it's strength there, and you have the potential to get it. But the fear of losing something makes you feel that there is no power, there is no strength. Similarly, abundance. You feel there are abundant opportunities in the world. You will see people getting successful out of, just um, doing very basic, simplest things, simplest, easiest things, giving tips, doing, happy videos and things like that. And the people who complicate are so complicating themselves and building it up in themselves that the fear of even getting around to doing something is a big question mark. So it's all in the mind, and I think fear in the mind is much larger than fear in the reality.
Yes, absolutely. Because as I started to saying, can be an emotion that is physical and can be a sentiment. And the sentiment is got to do with the interpretation that you have of that emotion towards reality. So, fears is something that everybody has, but ultimately, fears is not live. Do not allow people to live. Why? So, fear enable you to be secure. That is the natural fear, but fear can stop you to live. Why? Because you don't risk. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think fear is the fact that you're uncertain about the result. And because that uncertainty is so large, it makes you feel you're fearing to fall, you're fearing to fail. But that fear I still feel is a bit, in that sense, positive because at least you have the ability to give it a try. Like, I'll give you an example. In my life, the first ever public speaking that I was doing happened by coincidence. I was actually fearing the opportunity of making a public talk, addressing an audience, thinking, what if they don't like me? What if I'm failing? What if I get stuck? And I remember that when it happened by chance, I spoke in a way that I was very well received. And in my mind, I had the fear, which was much larger than that reality of that occasion. But I think that was one of the best things that happened because it gave me the opportunity to understand how important it is to share your point of view.
That makes me immediately think about, and it was beautiful what you shared, because when we have fears, the antidote of fear is courage. You only face fear, you only are able to overcome fears if you face it.
Absolutely.
Because if you hide from it, you will never face it. And it will come and come and come again. Let me share with you an experience to you guys about dealing with fear. There was a point in my life where my dad became sick with Alzheimer, and at the point, as a son, I had to take care of him. And in those moments, I was alone, and I had a tremendous amount of fear. What is going to happen? How can I deal with this? How can I deal with such a person?
It must be very tough. I mean, dealing with a patient of Alzheimer's is definitely not easy.
But let me tell you, I just knew that I'm a son, so I needed to be there for him. So I just did that, and through time, I discovered that I was not only able to deal with it, but I discovered the true reward of facing my fears. The love that I create through the disease of my father between he and me. in a different kind of love, and a love that was much more spiritual than in the rational way where people can speak with each other, because he was not able to do that. So facing that fear make me grow as a person and learn and be richer and in all ways of life.
I think facing our fears makes us, a bit more holistic. Every day you feel that you get renewed energies after facing your fear. It's like that first flight which you take. It's that the first highest jump that you make. So I do remember similar things that being a single parent, I was always asked a question that how do you, face your fears, and how do you handle your child, especially when you're not in good days. And
I can imagine that.
but I would always look at it like this, that you can either look at life, you have only two choices in life: either you face it or you have fear. There's no other choice you have. And we want to be heroes, we want to be appreciated, but the people who appreciate us the most are our children, are our offsprings. They are the ones who appreciate us the most, they are the ones who look up to us the most. So if you want the world to sing your praises and be an unsung hero, what about being an unsung hero with your child? So for me, that was an opportunity rather than a weakness, and a moment of strength. And what people thought was a weakness actually turned out to be my strength. And I feel really grateful that giving this opportunity of raising this child, he's now 23 and he's a good young man doing his own passions, following his own passions, doing his own stuff in life. He's happy, he's a happy kid. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to bring him up, because it shows that the investment in the last 23 years that have been made are a journey that started with one step of fear but brought several steps of success in my life to follow. I could mentor many more people, I could groom many more people, I could engage more confidently, and what I thought was my weakness, or at least people told me was to be looked as a weakness, became my biggest strength.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us, Artie. This is a huge topic. It's endless to speak about, and we all always learn about it. I will just for maybe to close this chapter, just it came to my mind now about fear. Fear is power.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When we are able to, and this is a different set of mind of seeing the world and seeing reality, because people see power as having money, having recognition,
No.
having influence, all sorts of things, materialistic things. But the real power is when I'm able to face my challenges, the fears that I have, because I have values that lead me to do the right thing, and I don't let that sentiment entrap me, and I'm able to face things searching the truth. And that is really in power. And as you told us about your story, and me with my father, we felt much more empowered.
Yes,
empowered with that.
absolutely.
So fear is got to do with courage to do the right things, and the empowerment. That is really power.
For me too, I think fear is empowering. Fear is liberating. And also, fear is just a state of
And
mind.
can be, because for some people, fear, and all of us have moments where fear stuck us.
Yes, but the fear is which stuck us and which you talk about is sticking us in the state of mind that we
Yes,
are in.
absolutely.
In reality, you're not stuck. If you imagine you're carrying 20 kilos burden, you'll automatically imagine it and close your eyes and imagine it. You'll actually see your shoulders bend.
Absolutely.
But if you imagine yourself that you're liberated, you're breathing, you're strong, you're healthy, you're happy, you look at the things to be grateful for that we have in our lives, I think that is the most liberating feeling than any other fear. The biggest transformations in life, people's lives, happen when they've stepped aside to do something completely different, which the whole world, showed them as fear, and they become successful. The only thing is, people know people when they're successful, but what goes into making that success, those are the real stories of real people that you understand, and that's what makes them fearless.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching us, and we'll continue in the next session with Articorana, Jorge
Thank you.
Neves, and we are on collab.
Thank you for
All right.
watching. Keep
See you
collaborating.
guys.